Hello friends, this is Mrs. Dennis, and today we're going to talk about warm-blooded animals and cold-blooded animals. So if you remember, we talked about vertebrates and invertebrates in the previous lesson. So I'm going to introduce our lessons for warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals, and then I'm going to do the read aloud. So of course, when we introduce our lessons, our read alouds, we first start with vocabulary. So our first vocabulary word is cold-blooded. And cold-blooded means they have a body temperature that changes with the temperature of the environment. So their body temperature matches the temperature that's outside. And yes, you can see that the frog is eating a mouse right now, but a frog is a cold-blooded animal. Constant. No changing, not changing very much, and staying steady and even. So if something is constant, just imagine a straight line is a constant and it just is straight. It doesn't go up or down or anything like that. Huddle. To crowd or squeeze together in a group to stay warm. So if we look at these penguins typically huddle so that they can stay warm because penguins are usually in a cold climate. Internal. On the inside or center of an object or organism. So all of your organs for your body are internal. Warm-blooded, being able to control internal body temperature by making heat within the body and having ways to cool the body when needed. So when we talked about the 5 animal groups from Rattenborough, I have a fun little way to remember the names of the 5 animal groups that Rattenborough's good friends belong to. So it's called All My Best Friends Represent Vertebrates. So the A stands for amphibians, M stands for mammals, B stands for birds, F stands for fish, R stands for reptiles, and then we put the V at the end for vertebrates. So you don't have to remember this right now, but it's just a quick, fun little way that you can remember the 5 groups from Rattenborough. So during our reading today, we're going to focus on main idea and supporting details. So we know that the main idea is what the text is mostly about. We've talked about it before, and like I told you, we're going to continue to talk about it. This is always going to be a topic that we discuss. Main idea. We're going to discuss this topic all year. So clues to finding what the text is mostly about is looking at the title. We talked about that during one of our live sessions. So look at the title, look at the pictures and the captions, and check the first and last sentence. So, and then I want you to pay attention to words that are used over and over and over again. So if you're looking at the first paragraph and they use the word frog 5 or 6 times, then you know that the main idea for that paragraph is mostly about frogs. Now, you have to find supporting details for your main idea. So, clues to finding supporting details are facts that tell you more about the main idea and details that tell you more about the main idea. So basically what you're looking for, facts and details, right, about the main idea. So if your main idea is about frogs, what are they telling you about frogs? Frogs are cold-blooded animals. That is a detail about your main idea. So we're going to constantly revisit main idea. Just like I said, we're going to always talk about theme. We're going to always talk about main idea. So let's do a little warm up, a little game. And it's called Guess the Main Idea. And for the mystery main idea number 1, here are your clues. I am a vertebrate. I swim in fresh water and salt water. I move around using my fins and breathe oxygen through my gills underwater. What am I? Ding, 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 ding. I am a fish. Mystery main idea number 2. I am an invertebrate. I have a red shell with black spots. I sometimes find my way into your house. What am I? Ding, 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 ding. I'm a ladybug. Mystery main idea number 3. This is our final mystery. I am a vertebrate. I slither along the ground and climb up trees. I have a pair of ribs attached to my vertebra. What am I? Ding, 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 ding. I am a snake. Okay, friends. So this was just a quick little way to get us to kind of understand how we can have a main idea and clues to go along with those main ideas. So the clues that I gave are your supporting details. And then the main idea was the animal in question. So for our mystery main idea number 3, your 3 supporting details were I am a vertebrate, I slither along the ground and climb up trees, and I have a pair of ribs attached to my vertebra. The main idea of this, of course, is a snake. So these are some of the things that we're going to do these are some of the things that I want you to think about as we're listening to the reading. So remember, the purpose for listening today for our read aloud is we are listening to determine the main idea. That is what we're talking about. Main idea. So let's get started with the reading. So today's reading again comes from Rattenborough. And don't forget, we're thinking about main idea. So here we go. This is warm-blooded and cold-blooded animals. Hi, boys and girls. I have brought along my slideshow once again. Today, we're going to look at slides from my friends, some of whom are cold-blooded animals and some of whom are warm-blooded animals. By the sound of it, you think that warm-blooded animals have warm blood and cold-blooded animals have cold blood. But this is not the case. The body temperature of a cold-blooded animal changes according to the surrounding and environment of that animal, whereas warm-blooded animals maintain about the same temperature all of the time. I heard that you are keeping a foldable sort to classify animals into groups. That's a great idea. You are practicing taxonomy, the study of classifying organisms, exactly like taxonomists do. You're going to be learning how to sort animals in lots of different ways. Today, we are going to sort these 5 vertebrates into 2 smaller groups by discovering some common characteristics. You'll learn how to tell which animals are cold-blooded and which animals are warm-blooded. Now, I'd like to help you understand a little more about cold-blooded animals. Paulo Piranha lives in the country of Colombia on the continent of South America. He's a fish. His body temperature, the measure of how warm his body is on the inside, changes with his surroundings. Right now, his temperature is the same as the water in which he is swimming. When you go swimming, chances are the water is colder than your body temperature. Paulo does not ever feel cold in water because there is no difference between his temperature and the temperature where he lives. Have any of you ever used a thermometer? Perhaps when you are sick, your parents or a nurse might measure your temperature with a thermometer. When warm-blooded people get ill, their temperatures often rise or go up. A person's normal body temperature is about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, and it remains constant, or about the same most of the time. That's very different from Paulo. The way in which an animal's body temperature is controlled determines whether it is cold-blooded or warm-blooded. My friend Paulo told me that his internal or inside body temperature is never constant. It does not stay the same. He cannot heat his body from the inside like you, so his temperature must change with his surroundings in order for his body to work perfectly. He becomes hot when it is hot around him and cold when it is cold around him. Now, friends, we're going to take a short picture pause. And during this next part of the read aloud, I want you to listen for main idea. Here we go. So, you see, although you and Paolo are both vertebrates, you also have differences. One of you is cold-blooded, one of you is warm-blooded. You're right, you are warm-blooded. So that makes Paolo, yes, cold-blooded. Most fish are cold-blooded. In fact, most animals on Earth are cold-blooded. Two of my other friends are cold-blooded as well. Does anyone know who else among them is cold-blooded? Those are great answers. Next, I'd like to tell you a little about anaconda. So, the main idea, did you kind of pick it out while you were listening? What do you think the main idea is of just that short section? Right. The main idea is that vertebrates are warm-blooded and cold-blooded, right? So they can be either or. This is what that paragraph was mostly about. So let's move on. Like Paolo, Anna lives in the rainforest of South America, but in the country of Peru. Does anyone remember what group of animals Anna belongs to? That's right. Anaconda is classified as a reptile, and she shares some of Paolo's characteristics. They're both cold-blooded animals, but that doesn't mean that they don't enjoy being warm. Anna loves the heat. Her body is very long indeed, and she told me that one of her favorite things to do is bask in the sun. The sun helps her stay warm, and her body soaks up the heat from the warm ground as well. Because she cannot control her own body temperature, Anna depends upon the sun and her warm surroundings to keep her properly warm. In fact, my other cold-blooded friend, Tabitha Toad, likes the sun too. Frogs and toads share some of the same characteristics as fish and reptiles. They use their surroundings to maintain or keep constant the proper body temperature. Yes, indeed, Tabitha Toad is cold-blooded, just like Paolo and Anna. And like Paolo and Anna, Tabitha is very comfortable around water. She comes from the Amazon rainforest in the country of Brazil. But just because her home is near the largest river in the world, it doesn't mean she lives in water all the time. Tabitha and all toads are actually more comfortable on land. Whereas frogs prefer to be wet, Tabitha is an amphibian, which means that she can live both in and out of the water. Now, friends, we're going to take a picture pause really quick, right? For the next section of this reading, I want you to listen for the main idea. Right? For the next section of this reading, I want you to listen for the main idea. Here we go. So, there you have it. Fish, reptile, amphibian. 3 groups of cold-blooded creatures. Their body temperatures change depending upon where they are, becoming warm when their surroundings are warm and cold when it's cold around them. Because they don't have constant body temperatures, they can easily become too hot or too cold. They have developed characteristics and behaviors so that they can live in certain habitats. So, what do you think the main idea of that paragraph is? What are they talking about? Well, that's right. They're talking about fish, reptiles, and amphibians are cold-blooded. So that's our main idea. Fish, reptiles, and amphibians are cold-blooded animals. Exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's learn a little about 2 of my other friends, my warm-blooded friends, a bird, Ebenezer egret, and a fellow mammal, Hilda hippo. Mammals and birds produce their own body heat internally, which means they keep their body temperatures constant. One thing's for sure, Ebenezer egret does not put on a winter coat like you and I do when it's cold outside. Of course, he doesn't need to put on an extra coat because he already has a brilliant coat of feathers. Feathers help keep Ebenezer warm. Want to know an interesting fact that Ebenezer shared with me while I was visiting South Africa? Ebenezer's beautiful white feathers were once prized by hat makers who used them for the sake of women's fashion and beauty, not warmth. Imagine that! Birds that live in cold climates sometimes travel south for the winter to make it easier to stay warm and find more available food. Often, physical characteristics help an animal stay warm. Ebenezer wears a coat of feathers, and I wear a coat of fur. Are you wondering what Hilda Hippo uses for a little additional warmth because she doesn't have fur? Let's take a look and see. I have a bit of news for you. In the hot tropical climate of Africa where Hilda Hippo lives, trying to stay cool is a more common occurrence than trying to stay warm. Hilda's body design is perfect for helping her stay cool. She has a nice layer of blubber that insulates her and helps her float. Hippopotami spend lots of time in the water of lakes and rivers to escape the heat. Can you see any characteristics of the hippopotamus that help it stay in the water for long periods of time? Good observation. Notice how having its nostrils, eyes, and ears on the top of its head, let the hippopotamus keep most of its body underwater where it can stay cool. Ebenezer also uses water to stay cool. Even though egrets can't swim, they do spend lots of time wading in the water, mostly to get their dinner. They feast on fish and toads and plenty of insects in order to store up energy needed to control their body temperature. Well, everybody, that's our time. You have learned a lot about the taxonomy of cold-blooded and warm-blooded animals. So now you can fill your foldable. I can't wait to see all of you again and continue with the show. Bye for now. Okay, friends, that is the end of our read aloud for today. Now, of course, as with all of our read alouds, you are going to have some discussion questions. So, your first discussion question is going to be, what group of animals did you hear about that are cold-blooded? Remember, there were 3 cold-blooded animals. What were they? And then, what group of animals did you hear about that were cold-blooded? There were 2. What were they? And then, what do we mean when we say an animal is warm-blooded? Right? And then, what do we mean when we say an animal is cold-blooded? Those are going to be some of the questions that you are going to have on your discussion for our read aloud for cold-blooded animals and warm-blooded animals. All right, friends, that's all for now.